Hello and welcome to Game Gumbo. Today we're unboxing Tiny Epic Mechs from Gamelyn Games. This is a game for 1 to 4 players that plays in 30 to 60 minutes. Gamelyn has been making the Tiny Epic series since 2014, and if there's a theme that you're interested in, there's probably a Tiny Epic game for you. They've got Tiny Epic Western, dinosaurs, zombies, and even their newest one, Tiny Epic Pirates. And they're all these kind of small box games. So they're great for travel and generally pretty easy to teach and learn. So we've got our rule book here. There's a solo mode for this game, which is interesting. It's you play against multiple opponents. We've got game setup here, which is based on the number of players in the game. You're always going to play with the mighty mech in the center of the board. That's one of the kind of main objectives of the game, or at least a way to score points. Here is the solo mode that explains to you how the AI mechs operate, and they get to start in this power armor where you don't, so a little bit of difficulty there. There's some action programming in this game. Whenever you're taking actions, you're going to be putting them out in a described order, and then taking them one at a time. Here we've got the equipment cards for the game. So all equipment in the game is either basic or advanced. You start with basic equipment, and then over the course of the game, you can buy advanced equipment. But you can't have advanced equipment with a pilot. So first you've got to upgrade into either your power armor or into the mighty mech before you can use advanced equipment. But they all have a cost. There are 2 resources in the game. There's credits and then there's energy. So whenever you buy a piece of equipment, it's going to have a prescribed cost, and then each item has a regular attack and basically a special attack, and the values are just the amount of damage they do, and then they may or may not have special abilities. This one has special abilities on both. So here are advanced items. They do have different types, so you can see that there are melee weapons, there's ranged weapons, and then I believe they call these splash weapons or maybe area weapons. And that does have a use in the game. There's basically kind of a rock, paper, scissors style to these 3 weapon types, where one weapon type beats another weapon type and so on. Here are our basic equipment. So there's 4 sets because each player is going to start with a full set of basic equipment. So they're going to have 1 energy sword, 1 grenade launcher, and so on. But among those, you're only going to select one of those items to start with. And you're probably going to start with a weapon. So it's unlikely you'd start with a riot shield, but you may decide to. So each player is going to secretly decide what item they're going to start with. And then all players will reveal their chosen item and attach them to their starting pilot. And then the rest of the items will be added to the market. So the market will always be whatever remains of the basic equipment, and then a certain number of advanced equipment for you to select from. And you can't buy multiples, so you can't buy all the energy swords. But there's your basic equipment. Here we have the different areas that will make up the game board. So this is where the mighty mech will start. And then you have starting areas for each of the 4 player colors. And then beyond that, you just have basic starting tiles, or area tiles, I should say. And again, these are only one-sided. You're going to stick to that diagram in the rule book based off of where you're going to put these tiles on the board to create the main game board. The rest of the pieces we got in here, we've got some additional cards here. These are mostly going to be your program cards for your different actions. So again, color-coded by player color. So if you're the blue player, you're going to get all the blue cards. And what you're going to do on your turn is you have 8 cards. And these are all different actions. You're going to put these out in front of you as your actions. And you can rotate them any way you want. And so if you put this out here, you're saying that you want your character to move up 1 space, and then you can take a collect action, which gets you resources, credits, and energy based off of the areas that you control. And obviously you don't want your opponents to know what you're playing, so you're going to use another card, one that you're not using this round, to hide it and then put it out in front of you. And you're going to do that 4 times. So the arrows just dictate what direction you're going in, and you can put them in any orientation you want. And then the ability on the side of the card is a special ability that you get to take whenever you're doing that action. So you're going to do a total of 4 of these. And then you're going to resolve those from left to right, assuming that you can resolve them. Now, if you can't move, because moving would move you off the map, then you're just not going to move. You're still going to get your special action, but you're not going to get your movement. The special actions are pretty straightforward. So you've got collect actions, which we've already talked about, allow you to gain resources, credits, and energy based off of the tiles that you control. You may have noticed earlier when we were looking at the location tiles that they specify whether they're credit tiles or they're energy tiles. Then you have purchase, which allows you to gain equipment, just paying whatever it's cost. You have power up. There are a couple of different things you can do with power up. You can heal, and you can also upgrade. So you can turn your pilot into their powered up version, which is their power armor. This one doesn't have an action, but it's a jump attack, essentially. You can jump diagonally, which obviously the rest of the cards don't allow you to move diagonally. And if you initiate a fight with this jump, you're going to get the advanced attack ability of your weapon as opposed to the regular attack. If you move into a space with another player, you immediately are going to start a combat with that player. And that's also how you score victory points, because you get victory points just for starting combat. These last 2 actions allow you to deploy mines and deploy turrets. And we'll talk a little bit more about those when we see those components. So we got a bag of goodies here. So this is the power armor. But you've got a power armor in each player color, as well as a meeple in each player color. So this meeple is your pilot, and this will start out on the board. You'll start as your pilot. But over the course of the game, you can upgrade or power up. And at that point, you get to place your meeple inside your power armor. And that has a couple different benefits. Most notably, it allows you to equip those advanced items that we saw earlier. So you can't equip advanced items unless you're in your power armor. But now you walk around in your little power armor. It's also sort of a second life. So if you're defeated in your power armor, you simply move to an open location nearby, and then you revert to your pilot form. Whereas if you're defeated as a pilot, you have to go back to your starting zone. So we've got all our mechs in our player colors, as well as our player pieces. And then we have our mighty mech, which will sit in the middle of the board. You get victory points just for jumping into it. You can't heal while you're in it. And it allows you to equip a lot of advanced weapons. So this is definitely something that you want to get to. You have to be in your power armor, and you have to be fully healed in order to get into the mighty mech, as well as being in its location. And then we've got our pieces for all our different equipment. So for every equipment that's in the game, you've got a little plastic piece here. And whenever you buy that piece, you're going to attach it to your character. So say you start with the basic sword, you're going to attach it to your pilot, like so. So that's kind of cool, I think. We got another bag of pieces here. So let's start with the easy one, which is just the first player token. Each player has a token to represent their life total. And then they're going to have a set of mines, as well as several turret pieces that they can put out. So one of the actions we saw earlier was allow you to put out a turret, and that's going to be these pieces. And when you put out a turret, you're actually going to build it onto a location of the board. And if an enemy moves into that spot, they're going to take a damage from your turret. If that defeats them, your turret actually gets to stick around. But if it doesn't, then they blow up your turret. The mines actually have values printed on them. So this one, for instance, is a 2. So you're going to place these, again, on the game board using that action that allows you to build mines, but you're going to place it face down so your opponents don't know the value. And if an opponent moves into an area with one of your mines, you're going to flip it up. You're going to deal damage to them equal to the value of the mine plus the value of the location, and hopefully defeat them with that. But if not, you're still doing damage to them. We've then got our little trophy figures to keep track of our victory points. And these are double-sided because they got plus 40 on one side in case you go over that scoring limit. And then you have markers to track your credits and your energy, your 2 resources. So the rest of this is mostly just going to be the different player boards and also the VP track, round track, things like that. So here we have the player boards. And this gives you a lot of the information about the game. One, it explains the counter system. So melee counters area and area counters range and so on. It's going to tell you how you score. You score for starting combat, you score for dealing damage to the enemy, and you score for causing a KO or an enemy to be defeated. Here you have your power up, so you can heal, or if you have 5 credits, you can upgrade your pilot into its power armor. It just reminds you that you have to be in your power armor and at full health to get into the Mighty Mech. And then your 2 deploy actions. So deploying turrets cost you energy, deploying mines cost you credits. They explain that turrets occur, the damage occurs after combat, where mines damage occurs before combat. And then again, a reminder that you score if you KO somebody with your deployed pieces. And then you got to track for your different resources, credits, and energy. This can also be used as your health track. If you're playing against AI opponents, you can use this as a health track. But you got one of those in each player color, and there's some information on the back for the solo mode for each one of these. Then you've got the pilots themselves. So whenever you're playing a game, you could be the purple player. That doesn't necessarily mean you're playing the purple pilot. You'll typically deal out 2 of these to each person and let them pick which one they want. The only difference are the special abilities that they have. So each one has a different special ability. They all have the same health totals. And then when you flip them over, they have their power armor version, which will change their special ability. And now, in addition to the 2 basic equipments, they can have 2 advanced equipments. The other boards we have the board for the Mighty Mech. Again, it reminds you that you score points just for getting into it. The Mighty Mech board is double-sided as well. The only difference between the 2 sides, if I can get it to focus, there we go, is the special ability. So you got rocket charge on this side, and you've got force field on this side. Whenever you get into the Mighty Mech, you choose what side you want. You choose what ability you want. And then it can have 4 advanced weapons. We got a round tracker. You'll play a total of 6 rounds. And then at the end, you're just trying to score the most victory points. So we already explained some ways to get victory points: starting combat, dealing damage, things like that. You also get victory points on the end of the 2nd, 4th, and 6th round for area control. So where your mines are, you'll score points equal to the value of that area. So again, we saw the area cards earlier. Some of them are value 1, and then they go up to a total of value 3. So you'll score points based off of where your mines are. Each mine will score you based off the area it's in. Each turret will score you double the area it's in. And then you'll score for where your character is. If you have a turret and your character in the same area, you'll score that area 3 times. And then if you are in the Mighty Mech at the end of one of those rounds, you'll score an additional 3 points. And finally, the victory point track, where you'll keep track of each person's score. And again, it goes up to 40. If you ever get past 40, you just flip over your token, so it says plus 40, and you start back at the 1. And that's it. That's everything you get in a copy of Tiny Epic Mechs from Gamelyn Games.